All right, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the Green Light and Banter.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Today is July 18th,
Is it
2024.
19th?
Oh, it is.
Year of our Lord.
Today is July 19th, 2024.
We're a bit rusty.
Today's episode is episode 30.
And I have zero idea what's about. He told me
I
nothing.
know. You do also realize we're getting close to 1 year of this nonsense.
Really?
Yeah, August is 1 year.
Son of a gun.
I will say, going back um, to the earlier podcast, the sound is completely different.
It was atrocious in the early days. We knew not what we did.
Well, when you're recording on soup cans and thread,
Yeah, basically that's what it was. I had a Campbell's soup can.
yeah, we just didn't know.
Yeah. We just dove in.
It's okay. I think most people probably start with the most recent episode anyway,
Probably.
because it's on top.
Was our most recent episode the interview episode?
Yeah,
That's how long it's been?
that's right. So we're just gonna recap that. So last episode, number 29, we did an interview with our friend, Dr. George Ackerman.
Indeed, we did.
George is Sharon's son, and he is an advocate for Parkinson's disease.
Yes, it was a great episode.
Yeah, I thought so.
I know so.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. So make sure you go back and look at 29. We've worked out some of our video things as well. This is our third video podcast.
It looks good.
Looks good right now. Looked good when we were recording with George.
Did it not?
Well, you and I came in and out of frame.
Yeah.
Basically, you could see our arms moving.
Like a marionette.
But the audio was good, so we got the point across. We're not here to showcase our beauty or our shoe game.
Oh my gosh. I hear anything else about the shoe game.
Hey, I didn't start it.
You didn't start it, but I think it's because I have a utter lack of shoe game. There's nothing I care about less than my shoes.
I mean, your shoes are your body's connection to the earth.
No,
They're
no,
not.
no.
What other part of your
They're a
body
they're a
connects to the
product
earth?
of sweatshop labor that
Okay, well, you shouldn't even be wearing shoes then.
none of us should. But they say evolution, or actually the invention of the shoe has caused a certain level of de-evolution
Yeah.
in our feet.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's why I come out of my shoes and
Yeah.
exercise my feet.
Yeah, I mean, we by all
Do
rights
some
should be able to
grounding.
grip stuff with our feet by now for
Yeah,
climbing.
but you hate feet, so
Well,
you know,
they'd be more functional if we could grab stuff.
you, you know the whole thing: no shoes, no shirt.
Mm-hmm.
But Kenny Chesney says no problem. But
Yeah, he says a lot.
I had a dream. I had a dream last night that I was at a restaurant and I had ordered my food, and I realized I didn't have a shirt on, and I said, "Oh my! I just realized I don't have a shirt on. I can't believe nobody's said anything."
Well, for a short time, if you were at Cracker Barrel, you could go out there and buy you a shirt. They're putting an end. I think they're putting an end to that.
The whole gift shop thing.
Well, they say the one in Mount Juliet, if you get an opportunity to go there, you got
I'm
to.
going there.
They say it's basically a Panera Bread now.
What does that mean?
Like it's just walk in, get your food, and go sit down. It's like there's no country store.
What's happened to the earth?
It's changing, my man. Changing in a way that I never agreed to.
I told you this story that I saw the mother. She was a patient of mine, the mother of the two young men who started the Cracker Barrel.
No, yeah, yeah, and you got that like gold card,
Yeah,
and you didn't use it properly.
I did. I didn't take advantage of it.
Was it just a one-time use gold card, or could you?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, but I had multiples.
do you still have them?
No, I used them.
Good,
It
good.
was like a handwritten little card.
Give
It
this
was like
man what he
gold
wants.
foil signed. I said, "What is this?" And they're like, "Oh my,
We're going to take you on a tour, and at the end, you may get to own Cracker Barrel.
it's the golden ticket."
That's right.
Oh, so what's today's topic, James?
You got
We're
me.
only 5 minutes in.
You won't tell me. I doubt you'll tell me even
You know,
right now.
one thing I've stopped doing is really timing anything, because that was kind of
Did you stop timing?
yeah, I just gave up on it because it didn't matter. Time was up and you just would never get the hint to stop.
But I
So,
thought that was part of the charm.
what the time
The
or
utter
or your ignorance of
my ignorance of any boundaries you set forth.
ignorance? Is that a word?
Boy, that's awful close to ignorance. So we're going to break away from that one, circle back.
That's why I used it. Your complete inability
Dismissal.
to not ignore, to ignore,
Yeah,
your ability to ignore.
is second to none.
Okay, well, let's try it.
Are you going to ever tell me a topic?
Yeah, I'm going to once I get the timer set.
I mean,
I've
I'm
got
so unprepared.
I've got too many apps on this thing. It's worthless.
Does it tell time? Because that seems like that's the one thing it should do.
It does. Okay. The clock has started. So today's topic. I dropped a couple of Instagram posts over the past few weeks with anticipation of doing a podcast. So since our last podcast, I've been away,
I've been
came
away.
back, you went away, you came back, I went away. I thought we were going to do a podcast while you were on vacay, but I'm sure you were ignoring me as usual,
There's no way I
like
could have.
yesterday.
I didn't ignore you yesterday. Completely forgot, and there's no way I could have done it
I
on
know it's
vacation.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I understand. I didn't say
yeah,
anything about it.
yeah.
Uh, so the Instagram post kind of allude to the topic, but not. If you saw the one before, it showed like an old cemetery
Hmm.
um, gravestone.
Hmm.
Did you see that?
Yes.
It was kind of Irish, Gaelic,
Hmm.
Irish stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's actually down at First Presbyterian Cemetery
Oh
downtown.
wow. Okay.
I can't read the inscriptions on it, but we have several notable Knoxvillians buried there.
I think we have some, but if is that the one that's where'd you say it was?
It's right behind the Tennessee Theater.
That's not the one that has a framer of the Constitution. There's
Yeah,
ones. Is it that the one?
Willie Blunt,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
signer. I wonder if he signed the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. I think it was the
I
Constitution,
think it was the
but I
Constitution.
could be wrong.
Chances are we are wrong.
Let's say he signed both of them. That way we get it maybe right.
But we got a 50% chance of,
Maybe we should know that.
you
It's been a
know,
while.
I know so much else that I just don't have room for anything else.
Yeah. Constitution, wait, Declaration of Independence, 1776. Constitution,
1984.
1789.
This
Close.
is the year before Back to the Future came out.
Hmm. I just remember that was the year of New Coke,
You know what? I wonder,
89.
did anybody even give that a chance? It couldn't have been terrible.
Yeah, it was. It was Pepsi. That's what it was.
Well, Pepsi's okay.
Too sweet.
I just don't know about you all. The
Doesn't
never.
burn enough.
I was too young to give New Coke a chance. I wasn't part of the demographic.
I don't know. I was working at the grocery store. It's the only reason I knew about it. It was a big thing, but I haven't had a Coke in a couple years, so I wouldn't even. I don't know. Okay, so the topic that kind of alluded to family history,
Mm-hmm.
and then my last post kind of a tie-in to uh, something that happened within the past week within our country, whereas the selected vice presidential candidate, JD Vance. Do you know JD Vance?
Not personally, but I know of him. JD Vance.
Well, I know JD Vance from years before because of his book,
Yeah.
Hillbilly Elegy.
Yep.
So I just thought we'd take a little journey and dive into our sto-
Our family histories.
stories about stories about our family. So my last Instagram post was a mugshot, right, of
Right.
me, and so I dropped that on Facebook too. And I'm sure, I mean, I didn't intend to offend anyone or make light of that, make fun of incarceration. Um, so after I did it, I was like, that's probably a little tasteless. But I don't actually have a mugshot of myself for my once upon a time incarceration. So I was much younger. I will say that.
I always lucked out on such activities.
Yeah. Well, I'll start it off with that story
Hmm.
if that's okay,
Yeah.
and then I'd like to kick it back in time
Okay.
because I got a few family stories,
Yeah.
and I know you probably want to talk about your land in Alabama.
I know nothing about any of this.
You don't have property there?
No.
Okay. I thought you did all this time. So my story about my brief stay within the jail or the whatever, the incarceration. So college period of time, nightlife, got involved with a little bit of a scuffle,
Hmm.
let's say. And so the paddy wagon came to pick up people. And basically they said to me, and I guess I had to be 21, but they're like, well, you can either spend the night in jail or we'll call your parents. And so I chose to spend the night in jail. So got a little booking going there, and I don't think they did a mugshot.
It's probably just to slap your wrist and send you on your way.
Well, I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
How stupid.
Yeah.
Things that we can't avoid.
Yeah.
So that's my brief, intense brush with the law. So,
There's only one time I had any chance, and the officer actually asked me, "Do you want to go to jail?" And I said, "No, sir." He said, "Be on your way." Uh,
move along.
yeah, we were. I was working at a company, several companies back that was in the medical field, but we were fresh out of high school as a friend's mom's
Mm,
company. And all we really did was come in there, play hockey, take supplies to Newport and stuff like that. And
Newport?
yeah, and
Why Newport?
it was the Maryville of that company for we're in Maryville a lot, but
Oh.
uh me and my buddy were going to go run some stuff up to Newport, and his girlfriend was working across the highway at the Rite Aid. Yeah, I think it was a Rite Aid.
In Newport?
No, no, this was before we left out for Newport. We'll
Okay.
need to knock Newport out of the conversation. It
Oh, we're
has,
done with
yeah,
that.
it has nothing to do from here on out. And we drove over there. He goes, I gotta tell her, I'm not gonna drop names. I gotta tell her that she's gonna have to find a ride home. We're not gonna be back in time. So he pulled up in front of the Rite Aid, and he goes in there and comes back out and goes, she's getting arrested. I said, what? What for? And all of a sudden, two plainclothes officers are walking her out. She's looking over at me, just embarrassed. And
So she was working there.
yeah, she didn't card an undercover officer.
Wait, they arrest you for that?
Evidently, back then, they probably don't now. Um, and he goes,
Maybe they should.
wait, pull over there. So I got to figure out what to tell her mom. So he has me turn and pull it right beside it. He flags me over, the officer, and opens up the door and drags him out. Because evidently he put up a stink in the Rite Aid about it.
Oh, so he goes,
Yeah, he got arrested for obstruction. And I'm sitting there like, what the heck? And he leans down and goes, do you want to go to jail? I said, no, sir. He goes, all right, be on your way, and shut the door. So I'm sitting there now going, what do I do? Do I go on and do this delivery? Side story to all that.
yeah, you go to Newport. You
Well,
said there
I
was
went
no
and told my
connection.
boss, and she was handling the bailing out. Um, but there's a little side story to that I have no idea what happened. We went to fill up a gas at the time it was the Conoco. Now it's something else there on Tazewell Pike.
Hmm.
We filled up on gas, and this guy comes up to us with a gas can and said, "Hey, man, I'm needing a lift down to my car. It's out of gas down at the down under the underpass." And I said, "Yeah, hop in, no big deal." So we drove down there before we went over to the Rite Aid, dropped him off. So I go back, and all this happens with the arrest, and I go to tell Sandra, who was my boss, about it. And when I get there, she's like, "Oh, don't worry about going to Newport." And I looked in the back. I was like, "Well, that's good because the supplies are gone."
He stole them?
He stole the supplies, all of them.
What was it?
It was syringes and stuff like that, and diapers, and it was.
Oh yeah. Who doesn't need syringes and diapers?
Well, I'd say one leads to another
If you do it
if
right,
you do it right.
do it wrong.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That
Yeah.
I mean, I've got all kinds of stories of my friends getting arrested because evidently I was always the one that went down to bail out people. So I've had tons of experience with dealing with bail bondsmen and picking up people, and had one of my friends get picked up.
I have no experience with that.
Oh, I have way too much experience with bail bondsmen, and I've never been arrested a day in my life.
Hmm.
I'd have to go around collecting money from all our friends to take care of 10% of the bail.
So I never understood bail. So they set your bond at $1 million. You have to come up with 10%
You
of
have
it.
to come up with if you go through a bail bondsman, you have to come up with 100 grand.
Why not? I mean, I don't understand.
Evidently, I
Why
guess.
not just make it a million or 10 grand?
Well, I guess.
So does the bondsman cover the rest of it? They're responsible if you run off.
Yeah, they're responsible for it if you run off.
So that's why they have bounty
Hmm.
hunters.
Yeah,
Wasn't that what Melissa did?
yeah, that's exactly what she did.
She hunted people down.
Yeah, she she was dog about
Well,
it.
so that's not really,
That's not our topic, right?
no, it's not.
See, that's how we get out of the time.
But I mean the tie into that was just kind of uh bringing it back to old JD Vance. My tie in with him is Appalachia,
Hmm.
right? Because his family was from Eastern Kentucky. I don't know if it's Harlan County, probably up around that area. Pretty rough.
Hmm.
So I thought it was interesting because Bongino, who's from Brooklyn, right,
Right.
was talking about it. And he was like, what did he say? What did he call his grandmother? Meemaw? Maw? And I was like, it's Mamaw.
I've heard meemaws, but yeah, it's mainly mamaw.
He's like, if you're from Appalachia, you have a Mamaw.
Yeah, we
Did
didn't.
you have a Mamaw?
No, well, you see, my
You weren't from Appalachia.
I'm from here.
So this isn't it.
Yeah.
This is West.
Now I do have family in Appalachia, and then I have family in northern Alabama. But my mom's parents, she was born in North Dakota.
What?
Yeah, she's from North Dakota, and my grandfather was from Oklahoma. And
Oh, you're a
and
Midwesterner.
I'm not. I'm an East Tennessean. Um,
Well, you are.
yeah. So I called them grandma and grandpa.
Yeah,
Now
because
my
they were Midwesterners.
my Alabama grandparents insisted we call them by their names, which people thought strange. So they were Wayne and Dean.
Hmm.
Yeah, they said you
What's
were.
your mom's name?
My mom is Dale Ann.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Wayne and Dean.
Hmm.
So Wayne was your grandmother's name?
Grandfather. I was like, I don't think I should have to say this. And Dean was short for Ma Dean.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And but they were so your mother's family was from the Midwest.
Mhm.
I'm sure they came from the East to the Midwest at some point,
Yeah.
right? But then your father's family, North Alabama,
Yeah.
Boaz,
Yeah.
Sand Mountain,
Sand Mountain,
Sand Mountain.
the birthplace of snake handling.
Where did they? So how did they get to Alabama?
They just roots tied deep to Alabama.
I mean, they had to come from somewhere first, unless they were Iroquois or Choctaw.
Well, I do have a my great grandmother or great great grandmother's 100% Cherokee, but that's about it and that. But yeah, I mean Scotch Irish. So
So they probably came in from Pennsylvania and filtered down.
we I did have family in Pennsylvania. In fact, one I forget which link it was, but basically it was our Scottish ancestor who I guess was an aristocrat because King George gave him what is today downtown Philadelphia.
What?
Yeah, and I guess when
What were their names?
they were from they were Duncans from the McDonald clan.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Well, maybe our families interacted because so part of our family back colonial time, pre-revolution, are the Rittenhouse family, and they had a paper mill on the Schuylkill River, and they were the ones who actually printed the first currency for the U.S.
Oh wow,
So that area is all right there.
yeah,
It'd
yeah,
be it'd be interesting
yeah, it would
to
be,
like look at the time frame.
yeah, that would be interesting.
Mm,
Hmm.
they probably talked about their land. Well, I own land downtown Philadelphia.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I suppose I would have to dive deeper into it, but I would suppose that gift became null and void when the whole revolution kicked in. Uh,
Well, eminent domain.
yeah,
Hey, great. You own this land?
yeah,
Yep. Okay, well, we're going to need it.
yeah,
Oh, you're welcome.
yeah. So I'm a yeah. It's an interesting. Then I believe my Irish heritage comes from candy makers.
Hmm.
Yes, it's candy sales or candy maker. I don't know what company.
Like the Kerns, Peter Kern was a confectioner.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, our family's been in Appalachia for hundreds of years. Both my father and my mother's family, uh, before my mom's family got to Tennessee, they were over in Western North Carolina as well. Um, so they were a bit of a French family,
Hmm.
and Quakers,
Hmm.
and they actually own land over in Western North Carolina around Asheville, Buncombe County. I think it's Buncombe County. But they sold their property to the Biltmores when they acquired all the property for the Biltmore estate.
Hmm.
Um, but interesting story about my dad's family. This is where I kind of wanted to go because it was kind of they're a little edgy, edgy. There's a book they wrote about the family. They lived up near Marshall on the old Buncombe Highway, and if you look at Madison County and that area of Western North Carolina, it's one of the last areas in the east that was actually developed and explored because
Right,
it was so rugged to get in and out.
right.
You could do the river, but the French Broad wasn't, you couldn't paddle up the river very well. You could get to Newport.
Yeah.
That's as far as the steamer could go. So this was like early 1800s, and they were what were called, I don't know if they were drovers, but they had a tavern on the turnpike, and people would come and stay. They would drive hogs over
Hmm.
from Tennessee because Tennessee was the hog capital of the country. They would take them that way to go to South Carolina to market. So people would stay at their tavern, right?
Hmm.
And so there's a legend that they had a room that had a trap door in it. And the trap door, if you opened it up, it sent you straight into the river. So people would just come there and disappear.
Wow.
They would just drop the body down the door, down the river. That's
Nice.
the story.
Nice.
Now, there's a little controversy whether that was the Barnetts or the Chuns. So
Hmm. Very
that's
curious.
Appalachia.
And this was in a book.
Yeah, there's a book called The Kingdom of Madison,
Mhm.
which is about Madison County. And they're in there. There was an old Methodist minister who traveled around. He was kind of writing a story about the area. And he wrote about the family. And he said that our family was so stupid they didn't even know how to say their own last name. Because he called them Barnards
Right.
or Bernard Barnard, but
Yeah.
they were saying what they how they say Barnett over there is Barnett. So it probably
Mhm.
sounded like
Yeah.
something else. Uh, so that's a little, you know, I don't know if you've read JD Vance's book. He talks about his grandmother's brothers and what they
Mhm.
did to people if they
Yeah.
did something wrong to the women in the family.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
You know,
anyway,
yeah, there's a book that a great uncle wrote, and got to be careful on what I'll say here because I'd say my father probably, of course, my great uncle put it in his book. So he was a World War II fighter pilot, like did some pretty hairy uh, uh, jobs. Like he would fly real low under radar,
yeah,
so it was very risky. But when he I can't believe I'm saying. When he got back, he became a psychiatrist, and
really.
and he got shunned.
Fighter pilots and psychiatry always
Well,
go together.
he that license didn't last a long time because he, let's say, liked his female
His clients too
female
well.
clients a little too well.
He got to know them too well
Yeah, and basically got shunned out of. I don't know about shunned, but he had to up and move out of Alabama and went to Georgia.
and
Uh,
did probably did the same thing. I
Maybe.
feel like if you were a doctor 200 years ago, 100 years ago, most people were so ignorant of anything and everything. And it's like, oh, the doctor knows everything.
Well, let's just not pretend there wasn't fuzzy lines all over. I mean,
Well, let's not pretend they're not still there.
yeah, well, I mean, marriage ages weren't exactly.
Well, I can understand why
Yeah,
you might send your
I remember when my sister was
early teen out.
yeah, when my sister was 13, my great grandmother asked when she was going to get married. My dad's like, "Nope."
You don't want to wait too long.
Yeah, yeah. You got to get them off the payroll essentially.
Well, I mean, if you had 10 kids, 12 kids,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, look, mm, teenage girls, you're probably like, well, anyway.
Well, life expectancy in a lot of cases wasn't what it is today.
Well, right. You're only going to live 30 to 40.
So your prime birthing years probably,
Yeah. And if you're going to have 10 or 12 kids,
yeah,
you better get
you
started,
better
right?
get on it. Yeah.
I guess because you had to have a lot of children to help
Farmhands.
do the farm,
Yeah.
but a lot of children created a lot more people to feed. It
You
was
def
like a,
you definitely wish for more sons because when your sons would find a wife, I don't know if dowries existed into those days.
well, they probably did like, okay, well, if you marry our daughter, we'll we'll give you a cow,
There's a
a
quarter,
horse.
there's 2 acres of our land.
Well, they
Well,
had to have somewhere to start their
yeah,
thing. So a good start would be some land, and
yeah,
probably the male's family had the land.
mhm,
They made it work.
yeah.
Uh, that makes me think about my great. I don't know if it's my great great grandmother, great great mama. She would have been a mama on my mom's side. The Parker family. I think this lady had. She's on record for the most births in Jefferson County.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How many?
24. Yeah. Now, with that being said, they didn't all survive,
Yeah,
but I feel like I've seen that somewhere before. It's crazy.
that's an insane amount.
But I mean, if you had a kid a year,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not
they
like there
never
was.
got anything done. Did your so thinking back about your family, did they have a lot of kids? How many siblings
Well, my
does your mother have?
now my mother, not many, because they weren't. I mean, they were somewhat country folk, but they weren't like they had three, and my sister and or my mom, her sister and brother.
So just three.
Yeah, and my dad. I mean, he came from farmland, and it was just him and his sister.
Really?
Yeah, now their parents.
Well, see, my mom and dad, they're eight kids and seven kids.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, they're they're probably from the same similar generation as your parents. A little younger, maybe.
That's yeah. My parents are 81.
Yeah, so about the same.
Sorry if my mom watches this and doesn't like that I just said that on on the YouTubes. My bad.
I'm thinking she's probably over that by now.
Yeah, she doesn't care. Yeah.
If she's like me, I most of the time I can't remember if I'm 54 or
I
55.
honestly had to have to do math a lot of
I
times
mean,
now.
it's not really something you think about.
No,
And it's like, okay, well, yeah.
yeah, I have to do math a lot of times. But no, they my grandfather had a lot of brothers that I mean they all look alike. I mean it's crazy. And we had a great uncle. If you go up to Scott County,
Yeah.
you'll see a lot of Hamby signs, Hamby Street signs, and
I know there's a Hamby Road up there just on the other side of
Bill
Wattsburg
Bill Hamby Road.
off the main highway.
We had one that was a lawyer went up there, and I guess he was part jackrabbit because he started breeding like a like a jackrabbit. And so there's Hambies everywhere. And a while back, I went up there when we were.
So that's your kin?
I'm kin to all of them.
How? From your dad's? I guess it has to be your
Dad's
dad's
side.
family.
Like I went up there a while back for when we were a car and delivered a chair to somebody up there, and
Isn't that your icebreaker? Do you know old Steve McGillicuddy down the road?
that's right, that's right. Excuse me. And I went up there, and there was a guy that was a retired uh, guard at Brushy Mountain, and he was Hamby, and he it was like I was talking to my deceased grandfather. I
You're
mean,
like, look
looked
just like him.
just like him. Even had the Hambies, except for this is a Mewhorter schnoz, but the Hambies always have a little bit of a hook nose. He had the classic hook nose. Now, I don't know how the Hambies have that hook nose because my father has it, but he had it playing football and rammed his face into a 10-yard marker back in the day. My grandfather got it, I think, from boxing in World War II. So it's like they came by it honestly, but they all have the hook nose. I don't know if they've all
So
just.
you're like talking to this guy, and he's like, "Why are you staring at me
Yeah, I'm
like
like
that?"
this. I told him, I was like, you are a spitting image of my grandfather. It's insane. And then we had a client at Car. I won't say his name, but we'll talk about it later. But his wife didn't get along with anybody at Car. Loved me, couldn't stand a lot of others. And it turns out after working with them for a couple of years, turns out she was a Hamby. And she because she was in an argument with him and goes, "That's just your Hamby blood in you." I said, "You're a Hamby?" And
That's why she liked you.
yeah,
She knew you were a Hamby,
yeah,
but she didn't tell you she was.
yeah.
Hmm.
We're a shifty group.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, number of siblings. My granddad, he had three brothers, but looking at the genealogy, he had about four other siblings that died during
Mhm.
childhood. Um, and then Granny, I don't know how many she had. They had several. So I've studied our family genealogy for probably about 30 years, but I haven't done much of it lately. So I'm a little rusty on my recollection.
What's your view on? I never like to be judgmental on this part, but like I'm a big fan of studying your genealogy, but doing the actual work. What's your view on the ones where all you got to do is send a cotton swab in someplace and they tell you? Because I tell you my opinion of it
Well,
is
I don't have a problem with it because it helped me uh, tie up some loose ends. Because initially, start doing genealogy, you had to go to East Tennessee Historical
yeah,
Society and try to find,
okay,
actual go through the pages, the microfiche, microfilm. But then, Ancestry online got into that, started publishing all that stuff, and
right.
people started collaborating, which took it to a new level. Although it introduced some fallacies and
Well, you see, that's my thing is okay, it's a business. Like I have a friend who's and I hope he doesn't watch this and because he got pretty angry at me about calling him out on this, but he's whiter than I am. And I'm like powder on the movie Powder. I'm so white. And um he says, my dad's doing it and I'm a descendant of an African princess. I go, I'm not buying this, man.
well, it could be 1,000 years ago or
Well,
hundreds of.
you never hear of somebody going, well, I'm a descendant of Joe Blow pottery guy from way back.
Well, why would anybody mention that?
Well, because there's not much repeat business and saying, hey, you're not really from anything.
Well, I mean, so talking about doing the DNA.
Yeah.
So I did that a long time ago, like long. It was a whole different study. It wasn't even through Ancestry, uh, where they looked at mitochondrial
Hmm.
DNA. So that's like your uh, mother's side. So completely different thing. But what it did, that's our time. What it did was help to prove some connections that maybe there was question about, or disprove some stories where
Okay.
people always have, like, in this area everybody's Cherokee,
Yeah.
everybody.
Everybody.
So, our family, we always knew the Parkers were Cherokee, right? And great 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 papa William Harvey Parker, 100% Cherokee,
Yeah.
right? So with the DNA, it shows that we have, native DNA,
Yeah.
but the percentages, you have to look at
Yeah.
how it's divided up. So it actually proves it.
Yeah.
Now, initially, when we started getting DNA, it showed African, West Coast, Ivory Coast DNA, and then Iberian Peninsula, stuff like that, which through more research and stuff has filtered some of that stuff out.
Yeah. I mean, like that picture in the lobby of my family from way back.
Mm-hmm. The big picture of all of them.
Yeah, my great great grandmother there is 100%. So my dad, it filtered down to my dad. He's 1/8. So I guess that makes me 1/16, but that's not enough really to count.
Well, I mean, what are we counting it for? Are you going to get on the casino committee over
Will
in
they let
Cherokee?
me on it? Because I do like to gamble.
I don't know. There used to be something to it, and there was a whole, I forget what they call it, the Cherokee rolls, where it was documented, and if you could prove through your genealogy, then it meant something. But there are so many people that said, "Oh, we're so and so on the roll." I don't know what that gets you, but it does. For me, it's a story.
Yeah.
And I like to figure out, it's like, oh, our family was in Laurel County, Kentucky, Raccoon Valley, Raccoon Holler in 1863 because they ran away from the Civil War,
Yeah.
and they didn't go home to Western North Carolina until 67. It's like, it's pretty cool where you can put those
Yeah,
pieces
that
together.
that is cool. I mean, and that's why one of my dad's cousins is actually doing the work as far as going down to the records office and doing it that way. And
Well, it's fun.
yeah,
It's detective work.
I'd say it's a pretty fulfilling hobby to get into.
What I'd really like to do, I have a couple of book ideas. I don't know if you know this. I always wanted to take one of those aspects of the family history and take the genealogy and the records I have that place people in certain places on certain dates and times, and take that and tell a story, fill in the blanks. You
Like
know,
his almost historical fiction.
yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Because a couple of different families within the Civil War specifically, they were in certain battles, but then they ran off.
Yeah.
They were gone, absent without leave. You can see the rolls and the records.
Kind of like old Devil Anse Hatfield.
I mean, my grandpa, David Lamb Page,
Yeah.
he was injured. He was in a hospital in Sweetwater.
Yeah.
He made it back to Greene County.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he had other things to do. Like,
Yeah.
you see the movies, they're like, I gotta go. My family needs me. This war is,
Yeah.
what are we
This
doing?
is pointless.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
So
I probably would have split back in the Civil War times. I probably would have been like, I gotta get home to my family.
I
This,
don't know, man. You look at what they were doing day in and day out. It wasn't much of anything.
uh-uh.
I mean, they have a battle here and there, but
Yeah.
most of the time they're just walking.
It seemed like the Civil War was for the storytellers and the higher ranked officers. That's who benefited the most from this, from that
Yeah,
more.
they all lived and flourished on the backs of slaves and
Yeah,
the common
the
people.
common man.
Oh yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
well, we lost 50,000 today.
Uh,
Oh well, on to the next battle.
Dearest mother, it was a horrific battle today where 20,000 of my strong Southern males.
Yeah. I only wish I could have been on the front line.
Yeah, I was safely back getting served tea by my manservant.
Thank goodness I had binoculars and I could see the action from the top of the hill.
It's the thought of you and my sister Penelope that gets me, that makes
Oh,
me remember.
Penelope.
Yes. By the by, anybody out there who's named Penelope, never go by Penny. Penelope's such a better name.
It's like it's like lyrical.
Yeah. It'd be like if your name's Victoria and you go by Vicky. Like, no, go by Victoria, man.
Oh, so you're saying I should go by Gregory?
Gregor's.
Well, I do have a friend that calls me Gregor
Yes, yes.
or Gregoire.
I'm gonna have you start calling me James. Probably wouldn't adhere to that, would
I
you?
always do. I do
Oh
anyway.
yeah, but if I really wanted you, like there's friends I grew up with. Like one guy went by Mikey my whole life.
So you still call him Mikey?
Yeah, and
And now
one
he's
day,
like, no,
one,
I'm Michael.
yeah, I'm Michael now. Or this one kid that I grew up with, Davey, and we saw him, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Davey." And he looked at this friend he was with. He goes, "People that knew me from when my childhood doesn't call me David anymore." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to call you David. I don't care
I
what."
don't know you as David.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Like my buddy from my childhood is Jimbo.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure in his daily life, nobody calls him that.
yeah,
It's
no,
probably Jim, right?
yeah,
But I don't know Jim. Who's Jim?
yeah, no,
That's your dad.
yeah. That's my dad,
All right, James. Well,
Gregor's.
that's like 43 minutes.
Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I really think we should stretch and emphasize our guests.
Let me stretch. We're gonna stretch your quads
Well,
there.
stretch our abilities. Because I think maybe we'll see how this one turns out.
Yeah. I'd like to have more guests. I'd like to be better prepared for guests. I guess I had every opportunity you did to be prepared, and I guess I didn't. You ought to answer me and not let me ramble on sometimes. What's going on? You're just staring at me.
I agree.
Okay, good. Good.
I agree. Have you watched that episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what are you saying? That I just was sitting there? Yeah. Well, okay. Okay. You know what? We're gonna shut this down. That doesn't deserve the rim shot.
Oh, wait. Oh,
He did it before and he will do it again.
yeah, I think you ought to I think somebody maybe, don't you have a friend that's done a TED Talk?
A guy that I knew back in the day, Chad, I'll have to reach out to him and see if he'd be willing. He's awful busy. Um, he did TED Talks, and he's known as a high impact motivational speaker.
Oh God, we can't do that. I mean, maybe we push the limits at some point and interview some politicians or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We should just
Or
you
we
should-
can continue to use our platform as for advocacy.
yeah, we'd be willing to take suggestions, but it'd be nice to get old Pastor Pat on.
Hmm.
Maybe push the uh push the
Political
election.
spectrum a little
Yeah.
bit. Well, you talk about somebody who's busy.
I got his flyer the other day in the mail.
Yeah, he's awesome, dude, man. You talk about somebody who goes nonstop, does, gives
Mhm.
back, and he's 78.
That's
I mean, he
great.
has more energy than I do. But it's because of his conviction, his
Mhm.
relationship with God.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, I've got these skills. God's given me the abilities to do it. I'm going to use it.
It'd be nice to
And
have
to
him
his
on.
glory, right?
Yeah. It'd be great to have him on.
Okay.
It'd be, I mean, be a way for him to,
I'll ask him.
yeah.
He has a podcast as well.
Maybe they can collide when podcasts collide.
I don't think podcasts collide. I think they collaborate.
I want them to collide. Podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go with your idea someday.
No, we won't. No, we never do.
That's it.
Later.
Ow.